Okay. Hi everyone. Good evening. Thanks for the invitation. So today the talk is about getting started with Google MCP Server. So, so a brief introduction of myself. My name is Kuan Hoong. You can call me KH. I'm currently working as a data engineering section lead. I'm Google developer expert in machine learning. I'm also an AWS community builder in machine learning. I'm very passionate about communities and running communities in Malaysia. I founded 3 communities and still managing them. I managed artificial intelligence and machine learning Malaysia. I also recently founded last year in November the artificial intelligence and machine learning user group for AWS Kuala Lumpur, and also I'm still managing the Malaysia R user group. So please do connect with me in LinkedIn. So if you are in LinkedIn, please do connect with me. So I do share a lot of activities and latest news and blog related to AI ML. So if you are on LinkedIn, please do connect with me in LinkedIn. Okay, so this is the agenda for today. Uh, the topic today is about getting started with Google MCP Server. Of course, if you are not familiar with MCP, Model Context Protocol, I will give a very brief introduction of what is MCP, and then what is Google MCP Servers, and what are the value proposition uh, that you can actually get from a Google MCP server. So at this moment, there are many services that's coming up from Google itself. So at this moment, the big 4 Google MCP server that available, which is Google Map, BigQuery, GKE MCP server, and GCE MCP server. So I will talk about how do we configure if you were to run this MCP server onto your local machine. I will talk about how do you configure this in Google Anti-Gravity and Gemini CLI. Then I will finish off with the demo. So I'll demo 2 parts. One is a demo that how can we run the whole thing in GCP, and then another demo is how do we run locally in your Google Anti-Gravity. Then I will conclude the session. Okay, so introduction, we know that now all the AI models are very powerful. Every 3-4 months you can see most of the company like Anthropic, Google, OpenAI, they're all coming out with new, more advanced model. But most of these models they are very isolated. So one of the main important thing is how do we connect all these large language model to a real world data, and this is one of the biggest challenge out there. As we know, most of the large language model there is a cutoff point when you train the model. So let's say that for the latest Gemini model 3.1, so there is a cutoff point. So beyond the cutoff point, then the AI model will not have the latest information or data related to the current world. So one of the way to actually allow the AI model to connect to the real world data or to access to the latest data is actually providing more capability to the AI model. Okay, so the traditional way to connect them is using API wrapper. So one of the traditional way is to connect them is using an AI wrapper, but AI wrapper is very complex because it's not easy to build around the AI wrapper, and also it has a very complicated authentication flow. So usually this is the common problem that people will say this is the last mile problem. How do we connect the AI model to the outside world data? So as we can see in these infographics, you can see that for large language model, you have all these connection problems like API wrapper, complicated authentication flow, a lot of different schema definition that actually act as a gap or hurdle for the AI model to connect to the real world data. So that's where actually model context protocol come in. So model context protocol MCP is actually introduced by Anthropic. So it become now an industrial standard is kind of like a universal language for AI model to connect, okay, to external tools. So with this open standard now, AI model is able to connect to any other external tools where the MCP actually become like an interface between the AI model and external system. So with this now, the agentic AI system can be grounded with real world data, no longer bounded by the cut-off date data. Okay, so as we know that there are many MCP server out there. There are some MCP server that you can actually run locally. There are MCP server that you can actually run from the server side. Then there are many MCP servers. Some are from reliable sources, official MCP server from the company itself. There are some MCP server that's built by communities. So there are many different MCP server out there. So with this MCP server, it comes with a lot of different limitations that most of developer will face. Okay, so one of the limitation of MCP server is actually built for local development use cases. Okay, and it's very difficult to scale and improve the performance. So there's a limitation and scaling problem as the usage grow. And one of the biggest problem also with MCP server, because people can build any MCP server out there, so there is no kind of like an enterprise standard for security and compliance. Okay, so you can see it could be a single point of failure, and then if you were to deploy an MCP server which is not built by you for any enterprise, that could be a very serious security vulnerability, because anybody can actually access, okay, without any proper access management. Okay, so there is access and identity management. And then there are so many MCP servers. Some are official, some are not official. So it's very difficult to make sure that which MCP is from the reliable sources and where are all these MCP are located. Okay, as we know, when there are more and more MCP, that actually increase the overhead of managing of this individual MCP server. So this is where Google MCP server come in. Okay, so as we know, Google has many services available all over, the services available for everyone. Okay, so now what Google is actually proposing is they actually propose a fully managed MCP server for all its core cloud products. Okay, so now you are no longer need to use third-party MCP server. You can actually use a fully managed MCP server officially from Google. Okay, so it's actually announced last year, about 5 months ago, end of last year, December 10. Okay, and then instead of writing wrappers, instead of hosting servers, now developer just have to point the AI agent to a very global, consistent, enterprise-ready endpoint for Google, all the Google services out there. So as you can see, there are Firestore, Bigtable, BigQuery, Cloud SQL, Spanner, AlloyDB. All these are from official Google, and then they are all using single single point where the agent can actually connect to. Okay, so the goal of Google MCP server is to make sure that Google and Google Cloud Services and all the customer can actually make the product available through MCP tools without them to actually setting up and maintaining additional infrastructure. So with the Google MCP servers, now all the customer can actually use the Google services, Google Cloud Services through this official MCP tool. And then because it's actually from Google official, so it actually simplify and make sure all the MCP are trusted discovery, and then you can actually with the enterprise grade kind of security and authentication, and make sure they are all secured and governed agentic interaction between the agent and tools. Okay, so with Google MCP server, with this now all the customer can actually convert all the current API into a MCP compliant server. okay? And then they are all bounded and managed by the Google IAM, the Identity Access Management. So you have a proper way to manage your servers, and it's reliable, it's secure, and you have the role-based, you can actually allow people to actually control the access to your MCP. So with this MCP server, Google Managed Server, now the agent can connect to the MCP via the AI agent or via the CLI. So later our demo, you can actually connect to your all this Google MCP server. Google MCP server via this Google Integrity or Gemini CLI. Okay, so all the MCP server is actually built on the streamable HTTP, and then first thing is one of the important thing that come with the Google MCP server is the authorization. So with this authorization, that means you can build in identity access using IAM rules to access your MCP server. Okay. From there, you can actually set different permission, different services action that you can actually roll, that what kind of action that you can actually perform on the MCP server. So for now, like I said, when Google launched in December, there are 4 main MCP server ready to be used, which is BigQuery, Google Maps, GKE, Google Kubernetes Engine, and GCE, Google Compute Engine. So this is the announcement in December. So that Google start to announce that the MCP server is available from Google services. Later I'll show you there are more and more services available out there, not just that 4. There are many more now that you can actually connect to now. So the proposition of value that actually bring by the Google MCP server. So with you have an agent discover, agent builder. If you are using agent builder in GCP, now you have a trusted agent. You have the MCP tools, and you can actually use all this within the agent builder. You also can build a very secure, trusted agentic experience with a minimum overhead. You do not need to worry about how to build the MCP server. All you need to do is just connect to the MCP server. Okay, and then you can have all the observability of all your agent flow. Okay, in terms of security admin, you know that in your GCP, Google Cloud, you can set different role in the IAM, the Identity Access Management. So with the MCP server now, you can have one centralized access governance. You can log all the usage logging, and then you also can have improved integrated MCP security. So no longer if you just launch an MCP server, anybody can connect to it, and then you have no control. Now this official Google MCP server, you can actually control the role and access using the IAM. And then for any service owner, you can actually make your service available using the MCP tools. You can have secured, authenticated using the MCP, and then these are all ready to be used across your client and transport method. So depend on whichever IDE you're using. So for example, you're using Google Integrity or Gemini CLI, you can just make a call to your MCP server, and then you can actually list out all the tools available from each of the MCP server. So you have your big 4, the GKE, BigQuery, Maps, and other Google services out there. Okay, so this is how the agent connect to the Google infrastructure. So depend on your tools that you are using, whether you are using Gemini CLI or Google Integrity, or you are using your ADK agent. You can actually connect to your MCP servers, Google MCP server, through the MCP connection layer, which is through this transport method of streamable HTTP. Okay, so through the streamable, you can do an API call, and then all these are layers together where you can actually connect to your managed MCP server, your BigQuery, your Google Map, your GKE or GCE. And then at the back, you have your API backend. And these are all fully managed by Google. So you can see with the fully managed MCP server, It's very easy. All you need to do for a developer is just to get your agent connect to the MCP server. The rest is actually managed by Google. So imagine you have a data, you have a lot of data in your BigQuery. Okay, so you have a lot of data in your BigQuery. Okay, so you can actually access, you can actually set a permission, what kind of table or what kind of access that you can allow for the people when they actually access through the MCP this MCP connection. So one of the important things that provided by the Google MCP server is the security model. So the security model is based on the IAM, the Identity Access Management. So when the agent has access to the MCP, so depend on the role of depend on the role that's assigned to the agent. So for example, if the agent have a role that is not allowed to access, then he will not able to access the MCP server. Okay, if it's allowed, then you will actually able to connect to the back end. Okay, and then it will depend on the service role whether you're able to actually do a query or able to just so depend on different role. Then you can actually see for here, you can actually access to the BigQuery MCP, and then you can actually access to the BigQuery data, so you can actually view the data, and then the data will return back to the agent. Okay. Okay, so with the launch of this Google MCP server, Google started with four big services out there. So one is BigQuery. So with BigQuery, you know there's a lot of data that you can actually store in your BigQuery table. So you can access the analytical engine. You can actually turn all your natural language into SQL. So later our demo, you can give a prompt, ask certain question. Then your agent will translate it to SQL, and then it will extract the data from your BigQuery table. Okay. At the same time, you also can access to your Google Map through the MCP. So last time you need to do a lot of API connection. Now you can just connect to your Google Map MCP, and then you can build application on top of this Google Map. Okay. So you can actually ground your agent now with the physical world data based on location. Okay, and then if you are doing something on GKE, Kubernetes, okay, you have all your DevOps operator that give your agent to access to your Kubernetes control, and you can actually monitor. Same for your compute engine. You can actually manage all your infrastructure and allow your agent to actually interact with your virtual machine in a primitive way. Okay, so you can see that most of the services that is from Google is very standard. They follow a standard. So you can see here we have this Google Map MCP. So in Google Map MCP, what can you do? You can actually, there are a few tools available under this MCP. You can compute route. That means if you say I want to go from point A to point B, okay, what are the point of interest that I will pass by? So that is one thing you can actually use these tools. Okay, you also will calculate the distance between one point to another point. Besides that, you also can do a lookup weather. If you want to check the latest weather for a certain location, then you can actually use these tools, or you can actually use the tools like search places. Later I'll demo that I can actually ask in my agent. My agent will actually pull the data from Google Maps. From GKE, you can actually other tools like get the cluster, manage your node, get operation, get information about your Kubernetes nodes, all your cluster, and all the operation. Okay, and then for your GCE compute engine, you can create instance, check all your disk usage, manage your instance, and manage all the check all your disk usage, image usage, all the services provided by GCE. Okay, so the key capability of this Google MCP server is your agent or your MCP client will connect through JSON RPC. Okay, then connect to your MCP server through the HTTPS, streamable HTTPS. Then you allow you to connect to your services in your Google Cloud services. Okay, so what is provided from the Google MCP server side? Okay, you have all your managed MCP, okay, where you can actually manage all your tool lists and streamable HTTP. You can actually discover all your MCP endpoint. There's a directory in your GCP. You can do authentication. That means every user, okay, should need to be authenticated, okay, to have through the either through OAuth or through this Google Cloud authentication. Then you can actually do all the admin governance. Okay, you can role based. You can put identity. You can actually select different role. Then you can actually select different policy. Okay, and then beside that, you also can also make your content secure using the Google Model Armor, and every single activity will be logged and observed. There's an audit trail and all the traces. So this is different from normal MCP. If it's a normal MCP, you need to do all these things by yourself. Now, because it's a managed service from Google, everything is provided from Google side. So with this, it's not just an API endpoint, so it's actually provided the enterprise grade solution. So with this, if you are thinking that, oh, I want to deploy something using MCP, and I'm worried that my MCP is not enterprise grade ready. So with this, what Google MCP is providing, okay, it actually gives you a kind of like a confidence that it could be an enterprise ready solution. So you have a scalable transport, make sure everything is streamable HTTP, stateless, and scalable interaction, and compatible with most of the load balancers out there. You have a very simplified networking. All the services have a uniform endpoint. For example, if it's BigQuery, you use BigQuery googleapi.com/MCP. If it's Google Map, then it's googlemap.googleapi.com/MCP. So most of the endpoints are very standard. Okay, it's very standard. And then, like I said, everything is controlled using the native IAM security. So it's fully integrated in the Google Cloud IAM. So no more passing API key in the prompt. Okay, everything is through this IAM security. So this is you can be rest assured. This is enterprise grade security. Okay, so how do we enable, for example, the BigQuery MCP server? So for example, like I said just now, most of the endpoint is very standard. Okay, so you can just put there, first of course, you just enable this API in your GCP. So you do a Google Cloud Services, enable BigQuery API. After that, okay, then you can just set your project, bind the ID. Then after that, you can just say that you allow this user to actually access the role of this BigQuery data viewer. Okay, so remember just now, the agent must pass by 2 gates to perform execution. First, the agent do a request, so you do a gate 1 with check. But this identity, does it have a permission to talk to the Google server? If yes, then you forward. The next thing is you check whether this person have a role to view the BigQuery. If you allow, then the data, then only the BigQuery data will be written. If not, you get an API error. So there is like a 2-layer kind of security to make sure that only authorized user will be allowed to actually access to the MCP. Okay. So if you have done MCP before, one of the tools that people use to test for the MCP is using the MCP inspector. So if you want to test MCP using the MCP inspector, you can actually, for example, let's say I want to test the Google Map connection to my Google Map MCP. So I use the streamable HTTP, and then the URL with map tools googleapi.com/MCP. Then I will say I will connect via proxy, and then I just provide the API key that I can connect with it. Then from there I can check, okay, what are the tools available under this Google Map MCP. Okay, so you can see I can actually add this Google Map MCP into my Gemini CLI tool. So all I need to do is just provide this MCP URL, and then my authentication, okay, and then the project ID. That's all. With this, now your Gemini CLI can actually interact with your Google Map MCP. Okay, so with once you have connected to your Google Map MCP, what can you do? Okay, so what can you do? So can you remember just now I told you in Google Map there's three tools. Okay, one is compute route, another one is check weather, look for weather, another one is places. Okay, so for example, uh, if I were to ask in my Gemini CLI, I'm planning to drive from Mumbai to Pune tomorrow. What should I expect? Okay, so Gemini CLI will know that this is this is the good example to call up the MCP for Google Map. So he will actually call up the look for Google Map, and then he will actually here he will check two things. Remember just now I said the Google Map has three tools. One is route, another one is weather, another one is the places. So for this case here, you know that you're going to Pune from Mumbai to Pune tomorrow. You look at the weather, the tools which is under the Google Map. Another tools is under the Google Map is compute route. Okay, so you actually compute. Okay, the origin place is Mumbai, the destination is Pune, and then the departure time tomorrow, and then you actually get back the information for this. Okay, so from there you can actually see your Gemini CLI will return answer with a complete using multiple tools. Okay, so they say okay from Mumbai to Pune, okay, the distance will be 154 kilometers and expect to drive around 3 hours. Okay, and then the weather, Mumbai is around 30 and then Pune is around 28. Okay, so you can see here. Imagine now if you were to build an application where you need to use Google Map information. It's very simple. Just connect to the services provided by this Google Map and Google Map under the Google MCP server. Okay, so with this, your agent also can be your data analyst. Okay, for example, I can ask a question. Remember just now we have 4 MCP server that released during in the last year December. So we have Google Map, then we have this GKE, then we have GCE, and then we have BigQuery. So for this case here, I can actually ask a question, for example, find the release node from BigQuery public data, Google Cloud release node for Google Kubernetes engine. Okay, so what happened is the agent will actually execute the SQL tool. That means he will actually first he will retrieve the data from your BigQuery, then he will able to execute SQL. That means he will translate this prompt into SQL code, and he will extract the information from your BigQuery MCP server, okay, and run the query, and then get back the result accordingly. Okay, so you also now later I will show to you. You also can run this and deploy this into your agent. Okay, so if you are doing something using ADK, so it's very simple. You can actually include this into your tools for your ADK. So if, for example, this case here, I'm using the Google Map, okay, the Google Map. So you just have to, for example, in ADK, now we can actually build a custom agent in Python that seamlessly integrate with your Google Map through the MCP server. Okay, you can actually define your instruction and then can actually solve complex problems. So if you are doing ADK, you can just in your toolset, you can just say I can want to connect to my remote Google Map MCP server through streamable HTTP, and then you just provide the Google Map API key, and then with the Google Map MCP server. Okay, so MCP on Google Cloud. Okay, so MCP not just that you can actually access it through local. You also can actually access all the application through your GCP. So in GCP, it's a fully managed GCP MCP cloud for Google Cloud. Okay, so you have all your services like BigQuery, databases, Looker, whatever. You can actually access through the MCP, and then you have all the application on top like your agents, your apps, your IDE, or your insight. So this provides a unified interface, one protocol for your BigQuery database or Looker. It's fully managed, no infrastructure to provision, and then Google will actually handle all the hosting, scaling, and security. Okay, so for this case here is agent first design. That means you actually can build with reasoning pattern, which is specifically designed for your modern large language model. Okay, so for MCP for BigQuery, okay, so now you can actually access your data at a scale. So you know that BigQuery is actually meant to store large data. Now you can actually access it, build an agent, okay, you can actually access through your MCP server. Okay. So for example here, I actually included the MCP server into my Gemini CLI. Okay, so when I list the MCP server is inside my Gemini CLI, I can see I can actually now connected to my BigQuery MCP server. So in my BigQuery MCP server, it actually has 5 tools. Okay, one of the tools is execute SQL. That means you will transform your prompt into SQL, and then you will actually execute the SQL at the BigQuery side. Then he will return the result to you. Okay, and beside that, you also can do basic things like get database, get dataset info, get table info, list all the dataset ID or list table ID. So with this, you have zero copy AI analysis. That means now the agent can actually leverage on the BigQuery compute power to generate insight for you. All you need to do is just build agent and then get connected to the MCP server, and then all the computing, generating all the insight are done at the BigQuery side. Okay, so you do not need to go and extract the data, download data, and then do the analysis at your side. Okay, so this can maintain a single source of truth for your analysis. Again, another emphasis is the enterprise grade security. So we know that we have many data that might not be allowed to be accessible by everyone. Okay, so in your BigQuery. So with this, if you build on top of this Google MCP server, you can set different role, okay, different authorization. So you can have a fully managed governance layer where every action is authenticated, authorized, and every action also will be logged, and there's a traces. So you can actually scan and prevent unauthorized access or any malicious intent. Okay, so with this MCP, you can have all your cloud database also. Now agent now can actually secure connect to your data. For example, this is Cloud SQL for your PostgreSQL through the Cloud SQL this MCP. So you can see same. You can actually access your PostgreSQL. You can do like execute SQL, query plan, list all the memory configuration, list all tables and bloated table, whatever. So again, the same concept. You have a common governance of all your enterprise data, all are fully managed by Google. You have a simplified discovery of data sources. Okay, so developer now can browse and access data sources offered by the organization through the tools like your Gemini CLI. Again, everything is that all your data is protected. You have the MCP model armor to make sure that everything is have secure access management and have identity control to prevent any malicious program or fraudulent attacks. So you can see overall the bigger picture, more and more services are coming up as an MCP server from Google. So you have Alloy DB for your Postgres, you have your Bigtable, BigQuery, you have your Cloud SQL, you have a Firestore, Spanner, okay. Then you have your BigQuery, you have your compute like Cloud Run, GCE, GKE, and then you have all your PubSub, okay. Then you have all your cloud logging, monitoring, okay. You have your Vertex AI, and then you have other MCP server like your Android developer API, Maps, and then even now Stitch is coming out. If you are using Stitch, it's also in a beta now. So if you go to the list, let me go to the list here. So this is the list, all the available MCP server now. Let me zoom in. You can see there are many now. So you have BigQuery, you have migration service, transfer service, Bigtable, and then you have logging, monitoring, Cloud Run, SQL, more and more are coming soon. And you can see every one that is very standard. You have just the API.com/MCP. Okay, data migration, API.com/MCP. So Firestore, API.com, MCP. So you can see Google try to standardize everything and easier for developer to develop application and connect to the MCP. Okay, so I'm going to do a demo later. So the demo is basically I will have some data which is a fake bakery shop. So this bakery shop, it has some data stored in BigQuery. Okay, so you have sales data, you have footfall, traffic data. That means at what location, how many people come to the store. You have postcode data. Okay, so let me show you. So I'm going to show you here. Oops, let me show you. Sorry. Okay, it's here. Okay, so this is the data that I'm going to demo later. So basically, you have table in your BigQuery. You have like sales data. Okay, so the data looks something like this. Location, how many baguettes sold, and what's the revenue look like. Then you have all your prices, different breaks.
Excuse me, are you sharing your screen?
Am I not sharing? Let me see. Am I sharing? Do you see my screen? No?
The screen is visible.
Everybody can see my screen?
No, we cannot see your screen.
Oh, okay. Let me see what's going on.
I can see on laptop.
You can see a laptop.
Can you share it again? Now it's visible. Now it's visible.
Is visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. So you can see this is the data in BigQuery. So you can see the table like demographic data. So inside here you have zip code.
But it is not clear as it's a blur.
It's okay. Don't worry. Later I'll show you. It just show you the data. This what's available inside.
Okay.
Can you see now?
Yeah.
So basically, it's a BigQuery data. I have 4 tables. Okay, BigQuery prices, demographic, foot traffic, sale history data. Okay. Okay. So what I want to do is now I have a I have a BigQuery table. Okay, I have 4 tables inside there. I have the sales data, BigQuery prices, footfall traffic, okay, and location data. So I want to ask question like this. Okay, I want to find zip code where in my store where I have the highest morning foot traffic score. Okay, and then I want to make sure which zip code has the bakery which is saturated, or which shop has a specialty coffee. Okay, position them. Then I want to do some sort of forecasting. Okay, so I have the table. Then I want to do some sort of what is the maximum price for sourdough dough loaf at and then I want to do some forecasting, and then I want to calculate some maybe some projection of my premium price. At the same time, maybe I want to ask some questions like logistics, all these things. So you can see all these are, if I were to do in a normal application, I would to maybe write an SQL code, and then after I come back, I have to do some analysis. Maybe I need to write some Python code, whatever, to analyze the data. Now I can actually do this just through my agentic application, and then through my prompt that I just ask a question, then he will actually do all the calculation at the server side and return me the result. Okay, so with this, the era of secure government capable agent is here. So you can have, you just enable the endpoint, activate your MCP for your BigQuery, Google Map, GK, GCE, then configure the IAM role, and then you can actually adopt the framework, start the, inside your CLI or Google Integrity, then you can actually use it. Okay, so I will just show how do you add this in your Google Integrity if you're using Google Integrity. So Google Integrity, what you can do is you can go to your Google Integrity and site there you can select Manage MCP Server. At the MCP store, you select Manage MCP Server. When you select Manage MCP Server, you come up something like this. Okay, you have this view raw config file. So view raw config file is where you actually put in the URL of the MCP server, your API key, and your API, the API key which is allow you to authenticate to the MCP. Okay, so it looks something like this, where you can actually paste into your MCP JSON file. Okay, so it looks something like this. So you can actually have in the MCP server, you define that I want to connect to the Google Map. So you provide the Google Map MCP URL, then you provide your Google Map API key. After that, you have, once you added that and you refresh, you can see in your Google Integrity, this Maps MCP is listed inside here. And then these are the 3 tools available inside your Google Map MCP. Remember the 3 tools, the search places, compute route, and lookup weather. Okay. So for example, I ask a question. Now I can go to my Google Integrity, the chat there. I can say, show me top rating restaurant around Islamabad. Okay. So for this, you will know that I need to call the Google Map MCP. So you say now I will call the Google Map MCP. Then from there, he will actually list out all the data based on the Google Map. The top rating restaurant is Islamabad. So they have this Tika 3, the Dome, Bistro Noah, El Momento, this one. And then you can actually click and view on the Google Map. So it looks something like this. Let me show you. Okay, Integrity. So if you go here just now, MCP server. Okay, then you can actually click this Manage MCP server. Okay, then you can see once I added, I can see the Google Map is listed inside my Manage MCP server. Okay, all you need to do is just click this View Raw Config. Okay, and then you can add in file. I'm not going to show you now because my API key is inside there. So, but then once you refresh, you can actually see it's added inside there. Then from here, okay, you can actually go back to your chat. Okay, go back to your chat, and then you can ask questions. For example, here I ask the questions now. Show me top rating restaurant in Islamabad. That you call the, he will call the A tools, and then this is the result will come up. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about, okay, so next I'm going to talk about Gemini CLI. How do you add this into your, how do you add the Google MCP server into your Gemini CLI? So if you use Gemini CLI, you know that you can add your MCP server through the setting.json file. Okay, so same, you can actually just use the setting.json file, which is located under your Gemini folder. You can just add this, the configuration into your setting.json file. Okay, so after that, once you put in the URL, you put in the API key, then you should be able to connect. Okay, of course, if you want to add the MCP from this official from Gemini CLI, you can actually click on the install from the Gemini.com extension. So it looks something like this. So there is an official Gemini CLI extension where it actually packaged together with skills and MCP. So let's say I want to do Google Map. So you can see there is this grounding like I showed you just now. Okay, so if I click this one, you say, or if I want to install this grounding light, I just click this command and go back to my terminal, and then you install this and add into my setting.json. Simple as that. Okay, so all the official Google MCP server, if you are talking about talking about Gemini CLI, is available inside this extension. Okay. So next one I want to just talk about later, because I'm going to demo using ADK. So you know ADK is another open source framework from Google. It's actually introduced last year, about a year ago, April 2025. So the whole purpose of ADK is to simplify the development of agentic application. So you have all your end-to-end development, the orchestration, the deployment agent, and multi-agent, which is open source. So if you're going to develop anything in the ADK, all you need to do is just define 4 things: the name of the agent, what model you want to use, the instruction, and then the tools. So the tools here is the one that you are going to add in, which is your Google MCP server inside the tools. So I will do a demo. So for my demo, I actually based on this Google Colab. Okay, don't worry, later I will share the slide with everyone. But this Google Colab basically is the one that it will show you. So this Google Colab will allow you to run everything on GCP. Okay, so you can actually try it out if you want. Oops, sorry. So the example that I will show you just now, the BigQuery, is through this Google Colab, this Colab. So basically, you can actually build intelligent ADK agent running on BigQuery and your Google Map. So you can have ADK, access to your Gemini model, access to your MCP server for your BigQuery, and access to your Google Map. Okay. Then from there, you can access to your BigQuery dataset. Just now the dataset I showed you got 4 tables. Okay, it allows you through the MCP for BigQuery. Then with the Google Map, you can actually access to the Map API. So the Map API, there's 3 tools. Okay, look, the route, weather, and the search places. Okay, so you can actually follow this. Basically, what happens is you can actually run this, create a Google project, activate, and then run the code. Okay, then after that, set up, and then he will actually upload the data into your BigQuery, the 4 tables just now: demographic data, BigQuery prices, sales history, and foot traffic, which you can see in your BigQuery console. Then from there, you can actually set up your virtual environment for your Python, activate, install Google ATK, and then you can actually run inside your this terminal in your GCP. So I want to show you this. So basically, it looks something like this. Okay, let me see. Where's my? Okay, so this is my GCP. Oh, let me connect again. So I've done all that in my, so if I go to my editor, okay, let me see. So you can actually follow this. I set up already. You should go here, activate again. So you will install the ADK. While we're running, so it's actually the same as what I've done in local machine. So it's the same. I have replicated the same thing into my Google anti-gravity. So in my Google anti-gravity, it's the same. Basically, you can see three things: the init file, the agent file. So the agent is just basically, I said you connect to two tools. One is the map tools. Okay, let me enlarge this. Okay, so the agent connect to your Google Cloud project, connect to two tools, which is the map and the BigQuery. And then for here, the agent that I'm using is Gemini 3.1 Pro. And then I would say this agent is able to do two things, able to access to the BigQuery tools and able to access to the map tools. So inside my tools, I will put in the URL for my Google Map MCP and the BigQuery MCP. And then I put in this API key. Okay. So after that, what you can do. Okay. Okay. Now this one is done. Let me see here. Show you again. Anyway, so basically when I activate my Google anti-gravity, so when I start my server, okay, when I start my ADK web server here, it will look something like this. Okay, so this is my ADK which I connected in my local machine to my anti-gravity just now. So from here I can ask questions like, okay, can you open up, I want to open a bakery in Los Angeles. Can you find a zip code for the highest morning foot traffic? So you actually now, you will actually execute and connect to my BigQuery table. Then you translate that to a SQL. Okay. Then you actually can see, you actually execute SQL. Okay. The SQL you can see, select D, zip code, city, neighbor, time, day, and then calculate and then come up with the traffic. Then from there, once you executed it, and this is the result returned back. Based on data, these are the data. You can see the whole thing here, or you just give a prompt, you connect to your BigQuery table, and then you execute the SQL, and then you get back the result. At the same time, I also can search for bakeries in the zip code where it's saturated. So this time, you use the Google Map tools. For this, you will check the places. Okay, so you send you connect to my Google Map, then you can see these are the queries that's actually sent to the Google Map. Then from there, you can actually see the result. Okay, for Santa Monica, okay, it's not saturated. There are other competition out there. Then if I ask another question, or I want to open a Fort Bakery now, okay, find a zip code with the highest foot traffic. So he will actually now, same thing, he will try to access, and then he will access to my BigQuery and get back the result to me. Then I say, can you search for bakery, check for specialty coffees. So now you will look for Google Map using the search places tools. And then you return the result for me. And then all these results, I can actually see, I can click on it, you actually go to Google Map. Okay, and which is a link provided by the result returned back. Okay, then lastly, I can say, can you now position what maximum price? Okay, so you can see you get the table from BigQuery and then execute the SQL and then get back the result. So towards the end, you can see if I want to maximum price my sourdough, okay, you can see other competitor out there. What is the price and what is the brand that they are serving? So for this case, for sour loaf, 1850, you have Ehon Market, Seed Bakery, and Lodge, which actually selling about the same price. So for this case here, he will actually give you recommendation. Okay, if I want to aim from 13 to 16, 1850, then what are how do we compare to all the competitor market out there? So you can see the whole thing here. I'm running using ADK, which is running from my local machine, but it's connected to the this Google MCP server through the MCP. Okay, so this is an example that you can actually run. You can actually run the same thing in the Google Cloud. Let me see what's going on here. Is it so? Let me see. Okay, let me rush. Okay, so let's say if I sorry, this one. Okay, it's not opening. So basically, you can see inside my file here, you have MCP BigQuery app. So this BigQuery app basically, I don't know why it's not connected. Okay, so by having a problem, anyway, the result is the same as it's actually same like the you can see the three tools, the agent, the tools, and then the init file, and then you can actually run the ADK inside from the terminal, and then you can actually see the same result, which is the ADK running on the GCP. So this one you can actually try it out yourself. So the Google Code Lab, you can try it out. You actually, without any Google credit needed, you can actually try it yourself. You can also have, if you want to try like my Google Gravity just now, I run on the GitHub. So if you go to the GitHub, it's actually the same thing, but you can actually run it onto in your local machine, okay, which I showed just now. Okay, so this is what I have shown just now. The ADK able to access to your Gemini model, your BigQuery MCP server, and the Google Map MCP server. And from there, you can just translate the ADK agent will actually use the Gemini model to translate your prompt into and pass to your MCP. Your MCP server will translate into SQL and access the table respectively. So you can see it looks something like this. You have your data, which is stored in the BigQuery. You have the four tables, the demographics, the BigQuery price history. Then you have your ADK agent. You have the agent, the tools, which as I showed you just now. The tools is the one that you actually connect your agent to the MCP server. So this is the one that if I ask a question, you can see you do a lot of through the MCP server, it actually connect to your BigQuery table. Then you get the extract the table result, and then you also execute the SQL on your behalf. Okay. So if I were to say search BigQuery with a zip code, so you understand zip code is that you need to use the map. So you actually use the tools inside the Google Map. And from here you can actually see the result. Okay. So as a conclusion, Google MCP server actually bring order to the GCP ecosystem. Now you have a unified approach to discovery and governance. For developer, if you are a developer, now you can have a trusted MCP tool from Google with all the organization respectively, and in this enterprise grade this product. And then with Google existing API infrastructure, now you will have enhanced to support your MCP. So you have a unified layer that you can share access across your Google and Google Cloud services. So with that, thank you very much.